Hello, my book besties. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Delaney if you are new here, and today we're going to be talking about the books that will be in the running for my October TBR. I used to make relatively strict monthly TBRs, and then I was putting myself in a slump back to back because I was forcing myself to read books when I wasn't totally in the mood for them. The ratings of the books were suffering, I had no motivation to read, the reading slumps were getting out of hand, so I was like, we have got to stop with these super strict TBRs, but I do love making TBRs and I love watching videos about TBRs. I just like the excitement and like building the excitement for reading books. So we're taking a different approach. I have a massive stack of books here, and these are the books that I want to be choosing my October reads from. So this video is not to say I'm going to plan to read all of these books or force myself to read all of these books, but when choosing what book I want to pick up in kind of like a mood reading format, these are the books I'm looking at first. Anyways, I digress. I just wanted to let you know, like, I am not intending to read all of these books because that would be absolutely crazy. I think I would be reading every second of every day if I wanted to get through all of these, but these are the ones that are kind of on my radar. All right, let's just jump into the books. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. We all just want to talk about the books, so let's dive in. First, I have Crossroads by Devney Perry, and this one is one of the more certain ones for my October TBR because I actually started it last night while we're still technically in September. But if I continue to read this and all goes according to plan, I will be finishing this in October. This is a second chance small town romance, takes place in Montana, and it's also a relatively short read. It's like a romance under 300 pages, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. So if you want something quick and accessible and that you can just get your hands on and read in like a day or two, this feels like a great option. Next is another one that is certain for this month, and that is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And I know I will be reading this one because it is my Patreon book club's book of the month for October. You guys voted in the Patreon and this was the winner, so we are going to be reading this together for book club for October. And it is never too late to join the Patreon. We read the book together. I post like live vlog style updates throughout the month, and then we also have a live group chat option and a live video chat option depending on what tier you want. It's a whole bookish bestie group chat over there. We talk about life and reading goals and random bookish things and buddy reading and all the fun stuff. So if you want to join, that's over there. But anyways, I will be reading the Pumpkin Spice Cafe with the book club this month. Additionally, I will be reading The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. This comes out on October 1st, and I have seen the most phenomenal reviews for this. I saw so many people in the Patreon had so much interest in this and want to read this. However, it didn't win the monthly book poll. So it's not like our official book club book of the month, but I did make a separate group chat to buddy read this together because there was so much interest and I want to read it with you guys. So we are also reading this together in the Patreon. No pressure. Like I said, it's not like the official book, but I'm excited to read this with you guys as well. Then I have Keeping 13, and this is another one I am holding myself to because I'm currently in the process of rereading the second half of Binding 13 because I waited too long and I forgot everything. I've been wanting to continue the Boys of Tommen series, but I read Binding 13 too long ago now, and so I was like, I don't even remember these characters, I don't remember the plot, I don't remember how it ended, so I had to push myself to reread the last half of Binding 13. I don't like rereading, so I was really mad at myself that I waited so long. I'm not making the same mistake again. Once I finish rereading Binding 13, I need to dive into this one so I don't forget everything all over again, because then we're done for. It will never get read. Then I have One Star Romance, and this is honestly just on my TBR because I just got the audiobook from the library. My hold finally came through. I've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I'll be listening to this on audio in October, and I'm excited. I've heard really good things about this as well. Next is an iffy one because I'm very intimidated, but that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I definitely want to read this in the fall time. I think it's like a magical realism type of fantasy, and I know it like partially takes place in like the 1700s, which scares me a little bit. It feels like historical fiction meets fantasy, which can be hard for me to read. Sometimes I get a bit lost with those genres, but I feel like this is either like all-time favorite book for somebody or they really don't like it. So I'm curious what end of the spectrum I'm gonna end up on. Some people tout this book as like truly one of their favorite books of all time, like a must read. So I have to know what it's all about. I've been wanting to read this for probably over 2 years now. Since I like first got into reading, I always would like eye it at Target because let's be real, like it's stunning. The like gold cover detailing, it's a beautiful book, but I've just always been intimidated and a little bit scared, but we're gonna hopefully do it in October, but definitely attempt it at least this fall. Then I have Rules for Ghosting, and I think this is like somewhat of a fun flirty Halloween romance. Think like The Ex-Hex. I read that last year. I think that's what this is as well. Just like a very October-y romance. So if I'm going to read this book, it is most definitely going to have to be in October. So hopefully I will feel the motivation. Sometimes I'm not really in the mood for like those fun seasonal reads, but I do want to like seasonally read. So I don't know. My words just made absolutely no sense. I don't know what I'm saying. This is on the TBR. This is a hopeful. Then I have Dishonestly Yours by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and if you don't know, they are the author of my all-time favorite series, the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. I am dying to know what their writing is like outside of the Addicted universe, and I'm curious if I love them as authors as a whole, or if I just really fell in love with the Addicted series characters. It'll be interesting to read a book by them that's not the core six from that series, so we'll see how it goes. I'm a little bit nervous, but we shall see. I also think this is a little bit more of like, not a dark romance, but I think it's more of like a scandalous romance. So it feels good for the full time, almost like a mystery-ish romance. That's kind of the vibe I get. Then I have Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, and I believe this is a YA romance. I don't know. I've been wanting to read this for months now because I've seen really good things about it, and I placed a hold on the audio for this one as well at the library, and it should be coming up soon. I think I'm next in line, so I definitely added this to the October TBR, just like keeping an eye on my library holds. If that comes in, I'll be listening to this on audio in October. Then I have Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young, and I read Next of Kin in September, which is the first book in this series. I didn't even know this was a series. My friend picked this book up for me when we were at Barnes & Noble just because I read Out on a Limb and I was obsessed with it. And she's like, I want to buy you a book, so I'm going to get you this one. And we didn't even know that it was book 2 in a series until you guys told me. So I placed a hold on Next of Kin from the library, and I read that one in September. So I want to continue because I did really enjoy that one. I like Hannah Bonham Young's writing, but now we can actually get to the book that I own the physical copy of, and I'm really excited for this. I feel like my hopes are high. I love her writing style, and this could be really, really good. It's like a great, just kind of like filler romance when I want something that I know will be enjoyable. On the other hand, if I want to cry, sob my eyes out, send myself into a emotional spiral, I have The Last Letter. This is one of the most recommended books to me whenever I ask for like a sad book recommendation, an emotional book, a book that I'll be thinking about forever, a 5-star read. Like I feel like everyone has just been recommending this book to me, and I hear you, I see you, and sometimes you just want a book that's gonna make you cry. So if I get in that mood in October, I will be reaching for this one. You have to have all the options, you know? I am a little bit nervous. I know this book is going to absolutely wreck me, but I'm also excited at the same time because I feel like it will be really memorable. Then I have Heartstopper, and this is a graphic novel. So like it has like the little pictures, almost like a comic book kind of. I used to read graphic novels as a kid. Like I was a hardcore Dork Diaries fan, but I've never read one as an adult. So we shall see. I am definitely hoping to get to this. I've been putting this off since early in the summer. I wanted to read this like over the summertime, and then just like month would pass and I would never really get to it. So feels like a relatively quick read. Being the graphic novel style, I think I could lay down and just fly through this in like an hour or two, but we'll see. It's definitely a mindset shift in format, reading something so different. Then I have Lovely War, and this is my like historical fiction portion of my TBR. I feel like the fall just screams like fantasy, thriller, and historical fiction. I don't know why. I just feel like that's kind of like the vibe of the fall season. So I wanted to add a historical fiction. I have heard amazing, amazing things about this book, and I'm curious. I am very curious. I am a little bit nervous just because, like I said, historical fiction is a little bit heavier and this book is pretty thick. So we'll see how it goes, but based on the reviews that I've heard, I have a feeling I'm really gonna like this. Next, I have Here One Moment by Lane Moriarty. This is her newest release. It came out in September, and this deals with like fate and like destiny and knowing. I think the people in this book know when they're going to die or how they're going to die. Okay, the top of the blurb says, if you knew your future, would you try to fight fate? So it feels very like thought-provoking. I don't know. I've been excited to read this book since I got my hands on the early release copy that I was fortunate enough to get sent, but it's just like hasn't happened. I haven't really been in the mood to like focus on this book, and I want to really dedicate a lot of focus to this when I read it. So maybe in October. It's a hopeful. It's up there, crossing my fingers that the mood strikes. Last and definitely not least, I have Blue Sisters, and I think this was a book of the month option last month or the month before, but this sounds really, really great. I've seen a lot of book clubs have this as their book and like has great discussion points, I've heard. So I'm really excited about this. This was actually one of my Patreon's options for October, but it didn't get selected. So I still want to read it personally. Maybe a couple people in the Patreon would want to buddy read it with me. I don't know. I'll throw it out there, but definitely one that I still want to read. It feels like just general women's fiction, which I really love. I've been really into women's fiction, so I'm excited for this one. All right, guys, so that is a huge stack of books on my October TBR. Like I said, not all of these are planning to be read. I'm not forcing myself to read these, but in a mood reading style, when I'm going to look at what book I want to pick up, this is the selection I'm going to be looking at first. Let me know down below, do you make monthly TBRs? And if so, what is at the top of your October TBR or your October hopefuls list? But that is all for today's video. Nice and short and sweet. Those are just some of the books on my radar for October / the fall season that I'm really, really excited to get to. While you're here, make sure you're following me on all the things. They are always linked in the description box. You can also join the book club Patreon group if you want to, and make sure you're subscribed here so you don't miss any future videos. I will catch you in the next one. Bye, book besties.